All right, shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews. Man, a lot of us think that King David is going to come back in the flesh, and that the King David that ruled from 1010 BC, to maybe I think it was 971 BC, and then Solomon come on, but that King David is going to come back and lead us. And man, I'm here to tell you that King David is a spirit that should be in all Tanakh Israelites that believe in YAH. Because first of all, King David, we got to look at how he served Almighty YAH. He believed in Almighty YAH fully, and he was ready to get rid of the enemies. And then he didn't take the enemies on as friends over Almighty YAH's will, as some of the people did in our history. Some of the Israelites did. They will rather perform the will of the Canaanite Egyptian culture than performing Almighty YAH's culture. And Almighty YAH culture that he gave the Israelites, the covenant was to extinguish the Canaanite Amorite culture. And consequently, right now today, us Israelites are in captive to the Canaanite culture that we never finished destroying, that King David gave us, a good start. We got a good start under King David, because if you go back in our history, after leaving Egypt, we gave Prophet Moses a little trouble. Man, we gave Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim. Man, but we gave him a little trouble. And then, we was in all kind of little bondages during the judge era, what is called the judge era in the Tanakh. How we was all messed up. And then Prophet Samuel come about. Oh man, we started getting a good, start then. And then Saul, his heart was right. He was a dedicated worshiper of Almighty YAH, and he was zealous in his battle against the enemies. But how King David come about? Now, out of all the time that the Israelites journeyed and from Egypt without emancipation from the bondage that we was up under, and how we had a tabernacle, but how we never thought now time to build Almighty YAH a building, a temple that will represent Almighty YAH in his name. And we never did that. But then how King David, after completing his little missions and doing the things that Almighty YAH instructed him to do, how he thought to build Almighty YAH temple, and how Almighty YAH told him that, man, he can't let him do it because of the blood that was on his hand, but how he'll let his son and his descendants do it. And for him thinking of doing that, how he gonna make his descendants, rule over the kingdom of Israel. But it was some strings attached to that. It was some strings attached to that. King David descendants would have to follow Almighty YAH and follow the footsteps that King David, set forth. The Creator set King David's actions as a standard for the Israelites. His actions was a standard for Israelite. And some Hebrews be saying, King David coming back, King David coming back. And listen, King David, a King David-like individual with the spirit and heart of King David that want to follow Almighty YAH and get us some land, it has got to come back to lead an army. And if you go to Jeremiah, this is going to be Jeremiah 20. This is going to be Jeremiah 20, and then how this prophecy ain't never come to pass. And when this prophecy was spoken of, we Israelites had broken covenant and was being driven out the land. And I'm going to try to cover some of this history, because a lot of this got to do with King David's descendants. Now, it's some history, that our enemies ain't gonna never tell us about, because it got to do with them and how we Israelites abandoned our heritage to them, and then how did they gonna, translate scriptures and so forth, and how we don't have our history in its original form, but because we abandoned it to some Babylonian scribes. And in those Babylonian scribes, like I was explaining to one Hebrew, it's like how the words that we use to express our language in Hebrew, that the enemies, even though they spoke Hebrew, that they wasn't gonna be able to translate every single word and its meanings into its appropriate, the way it's supposed to be translated. And how that they wasn't able to do that, and how that, even though our enemy spoke Hebrew, that they wasn't us. And I should have recorded this Jewish rabbi explaining how that when they translate the scriptures, that is some words they don't even know what they mean, and then how they done substituted words. So we got to use, approach our history in the sense that we broke the covenant, and our heritage fell into the hand of some Babylonian scribes, and that how our Babylonian scribes, they be pushing all kind of agendas. Now, this is why I believe that they would want to distort and mess up King David's name, and then put him on a idol worshiping level, is because King David took it to them Jebusites. When he came into Jerusalem and took Jerusalem over Zion, he took it to them Jebusites. And them Jebusites gonna be the Amorite people that control our heritage today. So they could be slick tarnishing King David's name by giving him some history that, it's not in the Tanakh. And like it's prophecies for King David's return, but that was more or less with his descendants, and then his descendants would had to follow the law, and be exactly like King David. And I can show in history that the Creator tried to give King David's descendants a chance, whereas nobody else really had a chance. That's like the Northern Kingdom monarch was snatched away in 722 BC. They ain't really have no more leaders after that. But how King David his land would continue to have descendants all the way down to, man, I got 420 BC, and then 98 years later the Greeks roll up. See, it was King David's descendants that was leading the and following the law, whereas the Northern Kingdom was messed up, man, way after, well, basically after during Solomon's time, when the kingdom broke up. That would be like a few years after King David's death, and then how the kingdom broke up, and it was a northern part, 10 tribes say that they wasn't following the tribe of Judah in the house of David, based upon Solomon's actions. See, before then, the Israelite nation was united. We was united into a one people, and King David was the king. King David was the king. Saul was the first king, and then King David was the king. And then it was supposed to be King David's descendants ruling the tribes of Israel from now to eternity, because King David followed the law, and he was an example of holding their land down and doing what Almighty Yah wanted. So his descendants would be, the ones to lead the land and be in charge, because King David was the one that the Creator put in charge, and his descendants. But it was a stipulation with that, that the descendants had to follow the law and be like King David. And then I can show throughout history that, that didn't happen. Man, that didn't happen, and that how King David descendants would mess up and uh, uh cause trouble, and for us to be kicked out the kingdom too, because it was the tribe of Judah that embraced the Egyptian religion. The northern kingdom was already destroyed because of the Egyptian religion, but how the southern kingdom, Judah, embraced the Egyptian religion, and then how we was all driven into Africa. But if you look at this here, we're gonna see some good kings and bad kings before I get into this history showing that King David descendants, that towards the end that they fell off, and then how that kind of abolished that promise to King David far as having an inheritor on the throne forever, but at the same time that the spirit of King David is in all of us. Now what people should be worried about is the prophet Elijah. Now the prophet Elijah didn't pass away, whereas King David passed away and had bones, and his bones was put in the grave in the city of David with his fathers. And then how about during the Babylonian wars that the Creator told prophet Jeremiah that all the bones would be thrown away and kicked out, out of Jerusalem and out of Judah's inheritance, that they wouldn't have no bones or nothing there to show that they had, been there and so forth. And, I got history to show that happened, and how the graves was robbed, from the Syrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Roman times, and how they went into the graves. But look here, King Saul gonna be the first king. Then we got King David, and then it was during Solomon time. It was during Solomon time that the kingdom split up. So, the rest of King David's descendants had to be good in order to keep the promise that the Creator made to King David alive. And we see that Rehoboam was bad, even though he ruled 17 years, he was bad. All right, the next, after Rehoboam, Abijah, and how he was bad. He only reigned 3 years. And then Asa, that's gonna be the man right there. Asa gonna be the man. I love reading Asa history and how he cleaned the land of the Sodomites, and he even had to whoop on them Ethiopians that they tried to come and attack us. So man, and look, he reigned 41 years. That was a good king. But he was from the descendants of King David. See, from here on out, everybody got to be of the line of King David in Judah in order to rule. You got to be from King David, because King David was the standard that the Creator was holding the Israelites by. Far as rulership. Because we know that Jeroboam, when he got control of the northern kingdom, how, he was on Egyptian religion. And then how that they was discounted from then on out. The northern kingdom was wicked. All the kings, look, I'm gonna just show that kings. Look, all right, you see? Bad. All of them bad. All of them bad. So, King David descendants would be kind of like the only ones good, to be following the law. And then that wasn't all of them. That wasn't all of them. That's like Jehoshaphat, he was the man. But Jehoram, his son that had hooked up with the tribes of Israel, had married, I think, Ahab's daughter, and was wicked. I might even read some of their history and how he wasn't no good. And then his son Ozzy, how he only reigned 1 year. All them bad kings. And then how Joash, he was a good king. And the prophet Joel was doing his time. That was a good king. And then you got Uzziah, 52 years. Then all them good kings, and Jotham from the tribe of David. They keeping the tribe of David promise alive. They trying to keep it alive, and trying to keep David promise alive by doing the will of the Creator. See, and then you see that's the prophet Isaiah and Micah was doing that time. And then, as you get on down, look, all the kings basically, doing good. Jotham did good. Ahaz, real bad, real bad. He ruled 16 years. And look, you see, all the ones that followed Almighty Yah had good long reigns, all right? And then you get, man, Hezekiah. Now, that's the man right there. And then this basically how we prove that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes during King Hezekiah time, but how he was a good king and he was trying to keep King David's will alive in the promise. And then, you go all the way down, and then how the best king, man of all, gonna be King Josiah. He was a prophecy king. And then it was after King Josiah's reign, when the Egyptians killed him, that we Israelites got on Egyptian worship in the tribe of Judah. And then how that promise to Almighty Yah that he made, that promise that Almighty Yah made to King David, was on shaky grounds. It was on shaky grounds then, because King David descendants started to do the Egyptian religion. Look, bad then on out, because after King Josiah was killed, the Egyptians came and put the rest of the kings, his descendants, on Egyptian religion. Now they attacking King David's descendants because the Egyptians will put King David's descendants on the Egyptian religion in our last days to kill that promise. See, the Egyptians killed that promise to King David, that King David would have a descendants on the throne forever. The Egyptians came out and killed King Josiah, and the rest of his sons would be on Egyptian religion, and that kind of like messed up King David's promise to have an inheritor on the throne. See, you can't have no inheritor on the throne if the covenant is completely broken, and then the Israelites is cast out the land. It's a whole new covenant got to come about, and that how that old covenant it is gone, it is over with. And King David having an inheritor on the throne was from that old covenant, if the Israelites, the tribe of Judah, would have followed the law. And then I got history to show that, the book of Zechariah gonna probably be the last time that the King David's descendants, would be mentioned, and then how it would say that they was driven apart. And then I can show Anania in 420 BC gonna be King David's last descendant. Now this is around about the time of the book of Malachi, who he say at the last end that Elijah gonna come back. And guess what? Prophet Elijah might come back in the physical, for the simple reason that he was taken up in the chariot. He didn't die. He ain't experienced no death that we know of. The people on earth, we didn't record that, and we would have recorded that in the Tanakh, and how he went up in the chariot, and then how years later, prophet Malachi, just before the exile's lights get put out, he would say that prophet Elijah is coming back. So if prophet Elijah coming back, and if you look at his history and what he stood for, he was against the Canaanite Amorite religion that Ahab was on. He was against it. And guess what? It's that religion and culture that got us in captivity now. It was the Egyptian culture that destroyed King David's seeds chance to reign forever on the throne. And then how did the Amorite culture help assist that? Just like today, we are destroyed by both cultures. The Egyptian and the Amorite culture is here dominating us Israelites in this captivity. All right, let's let me get into some of these biblical verses, because I just want to show that King David, he can't come back in the physical, and how it's got to be a spirit. Because like I say, if you believe in the Tanakh, and that we was kicked out the land, we gonna need some land, and that we gonna want our land. So that's what King David was about. And then if you believe in Tanakh history, and that we broke the covenant, and how we got kicked out, and how the Creator gonna resurrect us, then you gonna only worship Almighty Yah, and how you not gonna worship that demigod. So we got the same characteristics as King David got. But look, you see the all the bad kings. After King Josiah was killed, you know what I'm saying? All them bad kings come on, and that sealed their fate. And then how that, that it was over with, and that the only chance that it was a ruler on the throne was was uh, um was gonna be Zerubbabel, the branch. That's the branch, and how he had the temple built and tried to give the people a chance, and that was around 520 BC. That's like Haggai was written in 520 BC, and we know 100 years later passed by, and then during that 100, during 520 BC and before, when the exiles come back from the Babylonian captivity of 538 BC, it was all kind of belief that they would get the old covenant that the Creator gave us from Egypt started again and do right and hold it down in the land. Whereas us that had went into Africa, the 99% that broke the covenant, how we would have probably perished if that would have happened. But how it couldn't be two covenants. Here we under curse and here they blessed in the land. It was going to be one or the other. And how that the exile started to fall off after the book of Zechariah and Haggai and well, really Ezra and Nehemiah. That's in 537 BC. They record us coming home and how, it should have ran and the difficulties that they was up against. And then you will see that, man, it wasn't too good. The people was mixing and doing everything wrong. And then the other prophets, Haggai and Zechariah, come. And then, that was that 100-year promise from like 520, from 538 to 520 BC, that they just thought that it was going to be all right and we had a chance. And the Creator was fulfilling his prophecies to King David by keeping his seed, the people from the tribe of Judah, that was King David's descendants, in control of the exiles that come back from Babylon. Because remember, the northern kingdom leaders didn't have a chance. They was all gone. So it couldn't be nobody lead nobody from the northern kingdom. And then I got history to show that Israel went with Judah into captivity. I got plenty of videos explaining that, but how Israel went into the Babylonian Mesopotamian captivity too, and how that, when they come back, only Judah would be the leaders, and specifically from the tribe of Judah, King David's descendants. And then that's where you get Zerubbabel in them, the branch who, laid the foundation of the temple, and Josiah and a few others, but they was all the descendants of the tribe of David. Some of them was, I think, priests and Levites. But the thing is, man, they fell off. Like after that, man, we start mixing and start bringing crippled sheep to the temple and just start doing all kind of wicked stuff, to where that it was over with and that we was rejected. And then that the Greeks come in and put the exiles' lights out. And then that's the end of King David ever having a chance to have a seed on the throne, because we not going to have thrones in the kingdom that we once had when we go back to the promised land. That's over. But I tell you what, the Israelite Brotherhood got a elite organization within the Israelite Brotherhood, the King David line. You know what I'm saying? I'm creating that, and that's created. All right. How about this, Hebrews? Let me get to Jeremiah 33. We're going to start getting towards the end of when King David's descendants, was last, prophesied to men to rule and get an understanding, man, of, of what happened and stuff. And then this will be the book of Jeremiah. This is around about 588 BC. We being kicked off the land. We all messed up. And then how it's almost over. And then how that prophet Jeremiah had some things to say about King David's seed and what would go on. So I'm going to kind of read this whole chapter so we can get an understanding. All right, this is 33. Moreover, the word of the Elohim came unto Jeremiah the second time while he was yet shut up in the court of the prison, saying, This said the Elohim, the maker thereof, the Elohim that formed it, to establish it. The Elohim is his name. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. For this said the Elohim, the YAH of Israel, concerning the house of this city and concerning the houses of the kings of Judah, which are thrown down by the mounts and by the sword, because as I show you, those last kings after King Josiah was killed, man, they on Egyptian religion. So they killing the David promise. They killing the David promise right there. They killing the David promise. Man, three, 4 kings back to back all the way till we was driven out the land and the kingdom was broke up. Man, it's killing King David prophecy right there. There he is. Look, all bad. All bad. So this is around about this time right here what Jeremiah, man, is what I'm reading. Let me see. All right. They come to fight with the Chaldeans, but it is to fill them with the dead bodies of men whom I have slain in my anger and in my fury, and for all whose wickedness I have hid my face from this city. Behold, I will bring it health and cure, and I will cure them, and will reveal unto them the abundance of peace and truth, and I will cause the captivity of Judah and the captivity of Israel to return. So this was during the Babylonian wars. They had already done come snatch us. This the second time. You know, this is the second time that they come taking us in the book of Jeremiah. The first time they took us was in the book of Ezekiel. So, you know, them people had to come back and the Creator fulfilled that prophecy. But we kept messing up. And I will cleanse them from all their iniquity whereby they have sinned against me, and I will pardon all their iniquities whereby they have sinned and whereby they have transgressed men against me, and it shall be to me a name, a joy, a praise, and an honor before all the nations of the earth, which shall hear all the good that I do unto them, and they shall fear and tremble for all the goodness and for all the prosperity that I procure unto it. This said the Elohim again, there shall be heard in this place which ye shall be desolate without men and without beasts, even in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem that are desolate without men and without inhabited and without beasts. Because they was all messed up then during that time, but he's saying that they're going to be inhibited again. And that happened when the exiles come back from Babylon. Remember, some of them was already took in 595 BC, and then that's the book of Ezekiel. All right, which should be before the book of Jeremiah, but how they got the book of Jeremiah after the book of Ezekiel. But let me show you how that they should have, you know what I'm saying, that they took them the first time. The first way he got took, and then this is in 593 BC, you know, and how he was by the rivers, and then how the children of Israel, you know what I'm saying, was there in captivity. That's the first time they came. That's the second time that they come in the book of Jeremiah, and how he was trying to, the Creator was trying to give King David descendants a chance. But as we know, them bad kings, it didn't happen. All right. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the voice of them that shall say, praise the Elohim of hosts, for the Elohim is good, for his mercy endureth forever. And of them that shall bring sacrifice of praise into the house of the Elohim, for I will cause the return of the captivity of the land as at the first, said the Elohim. This said the Elohim of hosts, again in this place which is desolate without man and without beast, and all the cities thereof shall be an habitation of shepherds, causing their flocks to lie down. And in the cities of the mountains, and in the cities of the vale, and in the cities of the south, and in the land of Benjamin, and in the places about Jerusalem, and in the cities of Judah, shall the flocks pass again under the hand of him that tilleth them, said the Elohim. And guess what? That's about the only place that the Israelites was allowed to live when they came back. And then how about that the Hebrews, man, when they come back, they start mixing with all the nations. Look, let me show you this. And this is when we come back. See, this is in 588 when Jeremiah was talking. But then when we get to the Ezekiel and them, how this was like 30, 40 years after that. And then how you will see that the people was messed up, man. They was messed up real bad. And then how that they kept mixing and mixing. Now this is going to start to knock King David promise away. And this is just before Zerubbabel and them get in and try to get it laid down again. In Ezekiel, the Creator had promised them the temple, had it measured off and everything. And then when Zerubbabel and them came back, the temple was measured off and everything. And then how that they had got the promise that the Creator promised them to bring them back with a King David descendant on the throne. But they start messing up, as you see in the book of Malachi at the end. It was over with. But look, now these things were done. The princes come to me, and these gonna be King David's descendants. The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the land, doing according to their abomination. Even the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, and the Egyptians and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of these lands. Yeah, the hand of the princes and the rulers have been chief in this trespass. And then I can go show how they even let the devil up in the temple where the tents were coming at. You know what I'm saying? And where the people was making their donations, and then how that Tobiah, Ammonite, Moabite, Amorite take the money and lend it to the peoples to get their land from them. We'll donate money and then we'll mortgage our land and they'll buy it from us with the money that we donated. And then how that the exiles was, man, they was pure wicked, and then they was getting tricked out their lights. They was so dumb and so gullible. Man, the exiles from Babylon was so stupid, and man, it was basically over with, because man, they got played out their whole existence real fast. When they come back from Babylon, man, they start fooling off and playing with the folks, playing with the enemies like it wasn't serious. And then how the Babylonian wars wasn't connected to Almighty Yah driving us out the land, and then how we were still up under the impression that the Babylonians had the power to get us, and they was functioning like that, and they was trying to mix with them peoples, with them Babylonians and so forth. And then the Greeks come in. Oh man, it was over with. And then guess what, Hebrews? Our enemies not gonna record the exiles' destruction, for the simple reason is that they merged their history in during the exile times. Man, they merged their history in during the exile times, and when the exiles was destroyed, then you thought people think that heritage continued on to the Jews and so forth, and that's the history that you got today. But if that was the case and them Jews still around, you have, you got a whole bunch of Jews hollering that they King David's descendants. And that's false, because King David's descendants in 420 BC. I'm going to show that. Oh man, it's messed up, man. How we got knocked off the box by playing games with Almighty Yah. And then it's like I say, man, you only live one time, and King David, you know what I'm saying, can't come back in the physical, and that how it's gonna have to be his spirit, because his bones and everything gone, and how Elijah is the only person that didn't die. But let me read this before I get back to Jeremiah. All right. As a cloud is consumed and vanished away, so he that goeth down to the grave shall come up no more. He shall no more to his house, neither shall he place know him anymore. And it's a whole bunch of verses that that back that up. All right, so then I was reading Jeremiah 33, and then it's talking about the King David. We're gonna get an understanding. All right, and I was around about 11.
the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the voice of them that shall say, praise the Elohim of hosts, for the Elohim is good, for the mercy endureth forever, and of them that shall bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Elohim, for I will cause to return the captivity of the land as the first. And that happened with the with the exiles coming back. This said the Elohim of hosts again in this place, which is desolate, without man and without beast, and all the cities thereof shall be an habitation of shepherds and flocks to lie down. That come to pass. And then how all that come to pass. All right. And behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and to the house of Judah in those days. And at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. So we know that the branch mean all that come to pass, because the branch is going to be Zerubbabel. The branch is going to be Zerubbabel. And then if you go to Zechariah, let me see, the branch is going to be Zerubbabel. And then if you go to Zechariah, let's see, Zechariah, this would be Zechariah with a branch coming. All right, Zechariah 3:8, when they speak of a branch coming of David that was, to lay the foundation of the temple and to do everything, that come to pass. That was Zerubbabel. He fulfilled that. And then, Zechariah started at 520 BC. This was like getting ready to be 100 years before it was over with. So he came and he fulfilled the things that the Creator said that would happen, with King David's lineage for us coming back. But we got to remember that it depends on King David's sentence to hold that line that the Creator set forth, that King David followed, and how that didn't happen, and then how that was the end of the exiles. But you see, Jeremiah talk about the branch. In those days, said the Elohim, let me see, in those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days will Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely, and this is the name wherewith she shall be called, the Elohim of righteousness. And guess what? She was saved in everything, and because under Zechariah and Zerubbabel and them, the enemies didn't have no power under them, so they had safety for that little brief time that they was following the law. So they were safe. And then the Greek, the Persians was they protectors, and then it's when the Israelites start to fall off, and then start to sin is when the Greeks got rid of the Persians. And that started happening gradually. The more that the exile sinned, the faster the Greeks would destroy the Persians, to where the Persians was knocked off, and then they come into the promised land and got rid of the exiles. Remember, we playing with the covenant. You can't play with the covenant. You can't play with Almighty Yah. All right. For this said the Elohim, David shall never want a man to sit up on the throne of the house of Israel. Neither shall the priests and the Levites want a man before me to offer burnt offerings, and to kindle meat offerings, and to do sacrifice continually. But that was over with. The exiles around Malachi times, started to fall off. It was over with. And I'm going to show it. Look, in the word of the Elohim came unto Jeremiah, saying, this saith the Elohim, if ye can break my covenant of day and my covenant of the night, and that there shall not be day and night in their seasons. And we know that didn't change, because they created the light bulb. The light bulb done changed that. The lights done changed that. The light bulbs done changed that. Let me see. This said the Elohim, if ye can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, and that there shall be not be day and night in their seasons. So that happened with the light bulb. Then may also my covenant be broken with David, my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne with the Levites, the priests, and my ministers. So, that happened with the exiles. They got knocked off. And as the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand and the sea measured, so will I multiply the seed of David, my servant, and the Levites that minister unto him. Moreover, the word of the Elohim came to Jeremiah, saying, consider thou not what this people have spoken, saying the two families which the Elohim had chosen, he had even cast them off. This they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them. This said the Elohim, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinance of heaven and earth, then I will cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy upon them. And then that's what happened. And then King David descendants start falling off real bad. You know what I'm saying? And then, as I showed that it was a split during Solomon time, so that was starting to take the power away. And then as time withered on, man, that was the end of King David's rule, you know what I'm saying? And if you go to Zechariah 12, let's see what he say. Because he's the, he was the branch. And he came and fulfilled all the prophecies with fulfilling the tribe of David. That was done through him. The Creator gonna keep his word. Alright, so then if we go to Zechariah 12, alright, and then we read, we're gonna see that David, we're gonna see that David is we're gonna see the King David rule was over with as far as his descendants. Alright, let me read the whole chapter. Alright, this is in 520 BC. It's about over with. The burden of the Elohim. This is Zechariah 12. The burden of the word of the Elohim for Israel said. The burden of the word of the Elohim for Israel said the Elohim, which stretched forth the heavens and laid the foundation of the earth and formed the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, and when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem, in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all the people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. And that's the way it is now. All the nations got them a little spot in Jerusalem, in the promised land, but us real Israelites. Alright, in that day, said the Elohim, I will smite every horse in astonishment and its rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in the day of the host of the YAH. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a shelf, and they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her place, even in Jerusalem. The Elohim also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem go and magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall the Elohim defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. See, David's spirit gonna be in us. When that battle come and we got to step up and fight for the land, that we're gonna turn into some Davids. And the house of David shall be as YAH, and the angel of the Elohim before them. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem, and will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and upon supplication. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn everyone him, and mourning for his only son, and shall be bitterness for him. Yeah, because we've been tore up. And one that is bitterness for his first son. And that day shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, in the mourning of Hermon, and in the valley of Megiddon, and the land shall mourn every family apart. The family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart. The family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart. And the family of Shimei apart, and their wives apart. And all the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. So everything was going to be taken apart, separated. And that's what happened, because King David's descendants fell off. And Malachi is going to be the last book. And then that's when you'll get to 430 BC. This is almost 100 years after the book of Zechariah, and you'll have to look at our conditions from here. From here, you'll have to see our conditions and understand how it was for us, and it was real bad. The burden of the word of the Elohim to Israel by Malachi. So King David's and them descendants and them fell off and was doing real bad. I have loved you, said the Elohim, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, said the Elohim, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons and of the wilderness. Whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. And that's what they did. Even prophet Obadiah prophesied that they would do that. This said the Elohim of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the borders of wickedness, and the people against whom the Elohim had indignation forever. And your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, the Elohim will be magnified from the borders of Israel. But as you go down and read, you're going to see, man, that it was over with for us. Curse, look, but curse be the deceiver which has in his flock a male vowed and sacrifice unto the Elohim a corrupt thing. For I am a king, said the Elohim of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathens. Look, this is Malachi 2. And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. If ye would not hear, and if ye would not lay to heart to give glory unto my name, said the Elohim of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yeah, I have cursed them already, because ye did not lay it to heart. Behold, I will corrupt your seed, and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your stolen feasts, and one shall take you away with it. So, man, look, it was over with. It was over with for the exiles. My covenant was given him of light and peace. You know, he took it away. Look, and Elohim will cut off the man that doeth this, and in his masters, the robbing and the killing, you know what I'm saying, and all kind of abominations that the exiles was doing towards the end, man, before the Greeks get in there and put their lights out. All right, this is Ezekiel 3. For I, the Elohim, change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinance, and I have not kept, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, said the Elohim of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob Yah? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. So that's everybody. So the seed of David was over with. It was over with. This is 430 BC. The Greeks rolled up 98 years later. It was over with. It's no more recording after the book of Malachi. But behold, ye all, bring ye all the tents into the storehouse, that ye may be meat in mine house, and prove me now wherewith, said the Elohim, and I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough. But man, we kept sinning and sinning. But look, as you get down to the last part, he gonna say this: behold, I will send you Elijah. Now this is what the Creator say. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Now, prophet Elijah was prophesied to come back and be with us. King David descendants got knocked off, and then King David descendants will be under that old covenant. will be under the old covenant. And then that's why this was said, Creator know everything. Behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Elohim. I will put my law in their inward parts, and will write it in their heart, and will be their YAH, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Elohim, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said the Elohim, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Now, throughout that whole passage dealing with the new covenant, you don't hear him say nothing about the seed of David ruling us anymore, because under that new covenant, we ain't doing none of the old stuff. Whereas the old covenant, we had kings sitting on thrones, Levites, temples, and all that. Whereas we're not gonna have that, and how the law gonna be inside us. All right, but you see how it was over with, and then how it basically started to come apart for the house of David during Solomon's time. King Solomon made the house of David fall, because from his sin, man, they sinned. It wasn't nothing from a king. It wasn't nothing for a king of Judah to sin after Solomon had sinned. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Now, we should understand that, King David is in us Hebrews, us Tanakh Hebrews, that worship Almighty Yah, and that believe in Almighty Yah and want us to get a land. We are the King Davids. Shalom, Hebrews.